Well, I'm back. Good morning. It's the next day, and I actually woke up in the middle of the night a little worried about this because I hadn't used this interfacing last time. And in my mind, while I was laying in bed, I was picturing this to be really thick, and I'm thinking, how am I going to sew all of these pieces together? Because you have to do, the sides and everything. And I was slightly freaking out. But now that I'm back and seeing how it isn't as thick in my head as I thought it was, I think we'll be okay. So we have gone and finished up the zipper tabs. Basically what these tabs are for is we're going to sew the zipper to the upper and the lower upper and lower portions. The zipper is going to fit right in the middle because, I'll show you on this one, it'll look like this. So we've got the tabs are right here, and so you can't really even see it. That way we won't have any exposed edges. You've got the upper portion and the lower portion here. So that's what those tabs are for. It took me a little while to figure that out as well. Now that we've got them on the zipper, go ahead and trim them along the sides here. Just trim them so they're about the same width as the zipper, because now we are going to pin it to our upper edge. So step number 15 is to take your zipper and tabs, and you're going to pin it to the upper section, which is either piece number 5, 15, or 25. Now, you're going to pin it right side to right side. So make sure your zipper, see, here's my zipper. It opens from this side. I'm going to turn it the wrong side. So the wrong side is out, and the right side is up against the right side of the upper section. Now, what I did on my other one, I had the zipper on this side, which is fine for me. I don't know, I'm left-handed, so it kind of works for me, but I'm thinking most people like to open it from the other direction. So your zipper is going to be on when you're looking at it, it's going to be on the left side, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to just sew right along the bottom here, because then when you open it up, you'll have that. Okay, so go ahead and put your zipper on right there. You will want to use your zipper foot so that you get pretty close to your zipper. You will want to just baste along the bottom here using your zipper foot, because then we will be putting the other upper section on and sewing it. Okay, so I have basted my zipper on. Now the next step, step number 16, is you're going to take your second piece number 5, which is the upper section, and which is the lining, and put it on top of the one you just basted, right sides to right sides. Now the picture in the steps and the instructions does not make sense to me. So I even made notes on that, because it is right side to right side, which is what it says, but the picture doesn't make sense. So you've got your one you've just basted, and you put your new one, your second one, which is the lining, on top of that, and you sew along the bottom 1/4 inch using your zipper foot. Okay, so we've sewn the two upper sections together, right side to right side, and now step number 17 is to turn it around. So you've got wrong side to wrong side now, and you have the zipper hanging down here at the bottom. And you are going to go ahead and baste the edges together for step number 17. The one thing is, step number 18 says to edge stitch right along the top of the zipper. So what I actually would recommend you doing is edge stitching first and then basting. I've done it where I've basted, and then when I edge stitch, it gets a little clumpy here. So what I would do is actually edge stitch right along, it's actually the bottom of this section number 5, and edge stitch that first, and then go along and baste the two pieces together. Okay, so I have edge stitched the top of section, or I'm sorry, the bottom of section number 5 along the edge there. So now at the bottom of step 18, it says basically do the same thing for your lower section, which is piece number 6, 16, or 26. Well, you know, to me, that's just lazy. Throw in a couple extra steps here to show us pictures of what we're doing. So what it is that we're doing, we are taking our section, piece number 5 that we've just edge stitched and we have our zipper on, put it right side to right side. So you've got your zipper opening here. So it's that right side to the right side of your lower section, which is piece number 6, 16, or 26. And you're going to sew, or you're actually just going to baste along the top just like we did before. So go ahead and do that, because then we're sticking the lining onto that and sewing it. Okay, I have basted my piece number 5, 15, 25. I took it and I've basted it to the lower section, which is 6, 16, or 26. I made sure my zipper is on the inside, and I just double check so it's looking like this. So now we're going to take the lining of piece 6, 16, or 26 and put it on top of everything like that, right side to right side, and we're going to sew it all the way across using my zipper foot. So then when it's done, it'll flip around and it'll be just like piece number 5. Okay, I have sewn my lining, my upper, under, lower, whatever section this is, my lower section to the main part. And now what you're going to do is, again, flip it over. See, here's the outside. Flip it over, iron it all down nice and tight, and then you're going to edge stitch again right along the lower edge, right along there. And then go ahead and baste it. All right, so now I've got my full zipper here, or full pocket, I'm sorry, full pocket. You open it up and it's open. So now to put the back on that, we are going to take this zipper pocket we just did with the right side up. So make sure your zipper pull is facing up, and you are going to baste it to piece number 3. One of the linings. So this is my inside fabric with the interfacing on it. It's going to be right side up, and I'm going to put my pocket with my zipper right side up over it. And then we're going to baste all along the edges. So that way when you open your zipper, you've got the lining on the inside there. So go ahead and do that. Okay, I have basted my pocket onto the top or bottom piece number 3, 13 or 23. And that way, so I've got my zipper, and now I have a real pocket. Okay, so the next few steps have to do with the exterior zipper, the outside zipper, which is our double zipper here. Now it says to trim it to this exact length. For the large, it's supposed to be 31.5 inches. The thing is, what makes me nervous about doing that right now is if you screw up the size of your zipper, then your whole case is going to be screwed up. These tabs that we have, we've got 2 tabs cut, 2 different fabrics with the interfacing on them. They are actually going to be used to cover the ends of the zipper. So your zipper is not going to have to match up all the way around. However, I measured my 31.5 inches and I just laid it around the edge of the case, the edge of the piece number 3, and it doesn't look like it would fit. So what I did on this one, my first one, is I actually jumped down to step number 25, and that has to do with your side piece, number 2, 12, or 22. This is piece number 2, 12, or 22, which is the side. And step number 25 is you're going to sew the center back of your side piece. So then you are going to know, you're going to have the size of your case, and that kind of helps to make sure your zipper is the correct size. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to skip down to number 25 and just sew the side together real quick at the center seam, right side to right side. Okay, I've sewn my side together. Now what I'm doing is I measured the 31.5 inches on the zipper, and I laid it out. I kind of just laid it around, and then I laid out the tab because, like I said, the ends are supposed to meet up. They don't have to meet all the way in the middle, but they meet up enough where the tab covers both sides of your zipper. And it was not long enough. Now, maybe when I sew it on, it ends up being long enough. I don't know. It scares me though, because I will be cutting the zipper. So what I did was I laid out the zipper, and I made it where one tab is covering this end, and then the other side will cover this end of the zipper, and it looks like I can cut off about this much. I am making it a little longer just to be safe. So this is actually where I'm going to cut my zipper. And before I cut it, I am going to whip stitch it again right here and then cut it off. That way I can always make it shorter if I need to. It's a lot harder to make a zipper longer than making it shorter. So that's what I'm going to do right now, is whip stitch right here, cut it. So go ahead and measure your zipper, make sure it's a good length. But again, I would say just cut it a little longer, because then you can always go back and make it shorter. Okay, I went ahead and I whip stitched one end of my zipper, cut it close to the whip stitch, and then the other end I kept the main zipper stop, and I did cut the end though, because now what you're going to do, you are going to take your zipper right side out, and you're going to take your piece number 7, 17, or 27, which is the tab, and place it right side to right side against the zipper. You are going to place it so that the zipper ends on one end, and this is the side you're going to sew, because eventually you're going to turn it like this. And so it'll have a clean edge there. Now it says to go ahead and first baste this one on right here. And then you're going to take this tab with it, which is in the lining fabric, put it right side to right side, and then fully stitch it right there along the end here. Because then, like I said, these two are going to fold over like that. Okay, I have sewn both of my tabs together with my zipper. I again made sure that my outside fabric is on the side that has the zipper teeth, because that is the side that's going on the outside. And then I've got my lining fabric. Now, I did try and make it as straight as I could. And what you're gonna do after you sew it, flip them around so they're wrong side to wrong side here. So you've got your zipper just like that. And then iron it out and edge stitch right along the edge there. Okay, I have now edge stitched my zipper and my tabs. So there's my little edge stitch right here. Now what we're gonna do is basically do the same thing on the other side. In order to make sure you've got these clean edges here, we're going to flip it around so it's upside down. Well, okay, this is gonna be kind of confusing to explain. We are going to do the right side to right side on the right side again. So then we have to flip this guy around there. So it'll look like this, because then when you sew it, you'll turn it right side out and it'll have the clean edge along both sides again. Now, in order to get the size, again, it needs to fit your ring basically. So what I'm doing is I'm going to lay it out around the ring. So it's all the way around the ring, and you stick the zipper on the inside and make it tight. So then I'm going to mark with a pin on the zipper where that needs to go. So I'm going to put a little pin right here. So then I take it out and do the whole right side to right side. Sew it like that, so I can turn it inside out or right side out. Now, it's better to have it a little bit bigger. It's better to have your zipper a little bit bigger, because if there's any gathering that needs to be done, it gathers in the back here. Just like on this guy, you see how I have the gathering right here? This is from the zipper. Zipper gets gathered right there. That way you don't have to gather the sides, because with all of this interfacing on these sides, it's going to be tougher to gather the sides than to gather the back here. Okay, I've basted on right side. Again, it's right side to right side. Now you're going to take your other tab and you're going to turn it so it is right side to right side. And you're going to sew that together. Now, I swear I don't remember doing this in the first one. I think I did it all incorrectly. But what you're going to want to do is I'm going to pin it so that I can double check. So when I sew it, then I can turn them all out, and it's going to look like that, where you've got a clean edge on the front and the back. Okay, so we are done with the zipper. We've got the zipper ring together. We've already done the next step, which was sew piece number 2, 12, or 22 together. Now we are going to sew the side lining, which is also 2, 12, or 22 with your inside fabric, your lining fabric. That is with the regular interfacing. You're going to go ahead and sew the center seams together. Make sure you use the same seam allowance that you used on this guy, because they are matching up. So go ahead and do that. Okay, the next step is step number 27, and we are taking our piece number 2, 12, or 22, which is the side piece, and we are putting our zipper over it. Now the zipper is right side to right side. So here are my zipper pulls up against the right side of the fabric. I have my tab back here. This is the lining fabric. So I've got the correct fabric right side to right side. The tab is at the back center seam. Now what I'm going to do, you're going to want to baste it along the bottom. So if you see, I basically just laid it out, made it all flat together. So the zipper is on the bottom of this piece, and you're going to baste along the bottom using a zipper foot. Now, I recommend starting at one end of the tab, going all the way around. So when you come back to here, this is where you'll have to gather, because it probably will stretch out a bit. You will have to probably gather a little bit here, but at least it's the tab that you're gathering on. Okay, I have basted my zipper to my piece number 2. I did, like I said, I started over here, went all the way around, and then of course I did have to gather around here, but if you flip it right side out, doesn't look bad at all. So I went ahead and flipped it over just to make sure everything looks good. The next step is step number 28, where we're taking our lining, piece number 2, 12, or 22, and we're putting it right side to right side over what we just stitched. It's kind of the same thing that we did with our pocket, and you're going to pin it all the way across. So you've got your lining fabric, and you've got what you've just stitched. and you're going to sew along the bottom where you just basted, because then you'll be able to turn them all the way around. So go ahead and do that. Okay, I've taken my lining side piece and I've pinned it up against the zipper. So this is the front side piece. The zipper is folded up inside, and then I've got my lining, just like that. I'm going to sew along the edge. Now what I'm actually going to do is turn it this way so that I can see where I need to sew. Since you've got the zipper in there, you want to try and keep it as close as you can, so this way I can follow my based stitch. And I just go ahead and stitch it. So I'm actually in the middle of sewing my pieces on, but Bella stopped by to say hi. So we needed to give a shout out to Bella. Say hi, Bella. Say hi. Of course, she has to make her way in. You might hear her sometimes crying, trying to get in the room. And then I let her in and I close the door and she wants to get out of the room. So she won't be here for very long probably. So she had to say hi. Okay, I've sewn both of my piece number 2s together. So you've got this full circle here now. Now you're going to turn it right side out, just like we did with the pockets. You're turning it right side out and you're going to match up the two number 2s together like this. And so the zipper will be free on its own and you've got the 2 other pieces together. Now it says to baste along the bottom, but what I would recommend doing again first, it says you also want to top stitch. I would top stitch first. So top stitch right along this edge here, all the way around, and then you can go ahead and baste the 2 pieces together. Okay, I have top stitched, I guess, the piece number 2 along the top where the zipper is, and then I basted the 2 pieces together. Now we're going to go to our pocket, which is piece 8, 18, or 28. You've got 2 of these pieces. Be careful because they look a lot like the side piece. Make sure it is the correct piece. 2 of these with interfacing on the back. We are going to put them right side to right side, and then we're going to sew right along the top, just along one edge. Okay, now it says to go ahead and baste the edges together and then edge stitch. Now, like I say, turn it right side out, iron it down so it's nice and crisp, and then I would edge stitch first. This is the step where I did the basting first like it says to do, and then edge stitched, and it got all clumpy. That's the technical term for it. So anyway, edge stitch right along the top here, and then go ahead and baste the pieces all together. Okay, I've sewn my pocket. I've top stitched or edge stitched along the edge of the pocket, and I've basted them together. Now we are going to put the pocket onto the lining. So this is piece number 1, 11, or 21. And this is the lining material. You are going to take your lining, your piece number 1, and you're going to put the pocket right on top of it, right side to right side, although the pocket is pretty much all right side. You're going to put the lining or the pocket right along the lining, along the bottom of the lining, which is either end for you, and sew the pocket all along the bottom there. Okay, I've sewn my pocket on all the way around. Now you're going to take your pocket pattern, lay it on your pocket, and make the markings of where the little sections are going to be. You'll have little lines down the pattern piece here. You've got 2 lines here, and then the center line. And those are where you're going to sew the pocket, and it just makes little compartments for you. So go ahead, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different lines. Again, I recommend using a piece of chalk to do this, not a fabric marker, so that you can wipe the chalk off easily. Okay, I stitched my pockets and my little compartments. I recommend starting from the edge down to the top of your pocket so that it doesn't bunch up on the end here. I have to just go through and wet or wipe off all of my little chalk lines now. And the next step is actually taking this lining, folding it in half, and stitching center back, which is right along the edge there. I have sewn my lining side piece together at the center back, and now I am sewing the outside fabric. This is piece number 1, 11 or 21, and this is where my little fabulous is. And this now gets sewn at the center back as well. Okay, I sewed the center back of my piece number 1. Now it says to apply the zipper in the same way that you did on this upper piece, which again is just being lazy, because I actually ended up having to draw what I was doing on my instructions because it's very confusing to begin with. And now trying to figure it out upside down on the other piece. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your piece number 1, the side with the big foam. This is my word fabulous. I'm turning it upside down because I have to make sure it's all right side up. Upside down, and you're putting, this is piece number 2, right side to right side. So you've got your outside fabric up against the outside. You're pinning it all the way around and sewing it. Now go ahead and baste it. And I can even tell right now I'm going to have some clump or some gathering here in the back, because for some reason this is much bigger. Okay, I wrapped this around, pinned it, and realized that my piece number 1 was just a little too big. So I actually cut it down just a teeny bit because it was even bigger than the lining was. So then I pinned it. So again, this doesn't matter for you since you probably don't have words on yours, but you've got your piece number 1. If you do have words, make sure they're upside down. And then you've got your piece number 2, right side. The zipper's up there, and actually you're pinning the bottom part where your zipper is. I almost pinned it upside down, or I pinned it to where this was pinned on the bottom. Just make sure when you turn it, you're gonna have your zipper in between both pieces, because then it's gonna be like this. You've got your top piece and bottom piece. Now go ahead and baste it all the way around. Again, and see, I'm still gonna have a little bit of gather here. So I am starting back here, going all the way around so that when I gather, it'll be gathered in the back here. Okay, so I have got this all sewed together, and actually I'm really liking what it looks like. I was worried about the gathering on this big fluffy part, but it ended up being great. I'm so glad I was able to cut out a little bit of it. Okay, so now I've got my lining right side to right side. Okay, you've got right side to right side, but make sure your pockets are open to the top here, or they're open on the side of the zipper. And then you're going to sew all the way around so that then when you turn it right side out, your pockets are in the correct position. Okay, I've sewn my pieces together. I have thread everywhere, it's fabric frays and everything. Now you're going to turn it all right side out. Probably have to iron this interfacing down again. So you're going to turn it right side out. You're going to have it looking like this. Now you stick the lining inside and turn up the piece with the zipper. So it's like turning an urn. Okay, so I've got the lining on the inside with my pockets and the outside, fabulous. Now iron it down as best as you can, and then you're going to do another edge stitch or top stitch right along the edge here to match up against this one right here. Try and keep them pretty equal apart. And then go ahead and baste the side piece, number 1. Okay, I have turned it right side out. I have edge stitched here, and then I went through and basted the bottom. So step 37 is putting the lid on. Now you thought all of this was a little difficult, just wait till you get this. All right, you need to make sure, first off, that your front of your bag is in the front. Then you've got your lid or the top piece with your handle, get your handle, and you know you've got the base, or you've got the part of your piping here that's covered up, you know, that you had to sew together. Make sure that's on the back part of your case. You're going to turn your lid upside down, and you are going to sew all along the edges. Now, here's the thing. You want to make sure you are right up against your piping. So I actually think it's a great idea you follow these lines. This seam here is where your piping has been sewn in. So you're going to pin them, and I'm telling you what, it is not going to be easy. I do actually recommend something. I think what I'm going to try this time, I started doing this at the end of my other one, is I'm going to sew the length here and the length here, and then sew the 2 sides and then the corners. I think that'll work out okay. And what I'm going to do also is baste it first. So I will baste it, and then I can turn it around and make sure it looks okay. So let's hope that works. One thing I noticed right when I started pinning, thankfully before I started sewing, was this has to be inside out. The picture looks like it is right side out because it's the dark pattern. However, that is because this is the right side of the lining. So you can see in the picture there are pockets on the outside, and that would make sense because you are sewing this on and then you're turning it right side out. So again, I am going to pin it and sew it right along these sides first, and then these sides, and then the corners. I think it will help keep the bottom and the top an actual rectangle and not a trapezoid, which is what this one turned out to be. Hopefully that will work, but make sure this is inside out now, like this, with the pockets on the outside. Okay, I've basted this on. I've turned it right side out to make sure it looks okay. I think it actually worked out a lot better doing the sides first, because then you've really got it stable so that you can mess with the corners, because these corners are not fun. And if they're moving, if the fabric's moving all over the place, then it gets a little off. So now we get to do more. We have to turn this back, right back inside out, and you'll see all my thread everywhere. I didn't even bother cutting it out. I swear. So yeah, I'll have to trim all the thread. But now what we're gonna do is we're now putting on the lining with our zipper in our pocket. Okay, so the next step is, so we've got the top on, and I know I basted it, but our next step is we're going to be sewing right along these sides again. So I'm not going to go back through and sew it normally and then do another layer and another layer. You're going to open up your zipper so it's open like this. Keep it inside out still. And then you're going to take your pocket and pin it to the top. So when you're pinning it, you're pushing in the zipper. Make sure the zipper goes to the inside. And you're going to pin it like this. Make sure your pocket is up. And you're going to just pin it all the way around and sew it. Now when you sew it, you're going to, there are little dots on the pattern pieces that I didn't write in here. There's a little dot here and a little dot down here on this corner. You're only going to sew this area here because then we're going to turn it inside or right side out through that hole. So go ahead and do that now. And again, I am also going to be turning it this way to sew so I can sew along these lines, making sure that I'm right up against the piping, and I'm going to do the sides first and then the corners again. It really seemed to hold it better that way. Okay, I have sewn on my pocket and I've turned everything right side out. So now I've got my lid with the pocket on the inside. Now when we're done with the bottom, we will then be inserting this stiffer interfacing inside, and then you're going to have to sew this pocket on by hand. Now they've said in the instructions, again, being lazy, is to do the bottom the same way as you did the top. Okay, so in order to put the bottom on, you're going to want to turn this inside out. So you see my outside fabric's on the inside. Flip it over, keep the lid open so you can reach around or move it, and then pin the bottom on right side to right side. So your interfacing is on the outside. Go ahead and sew it around. Now I think I will baste it. I think it does say to baste it anyway. I'm going to try and follow this line here because I know this is the line that matches up to my piping. And I don't want to go too far into the piping or out of the piping. So that's what line I'm going to follow. I'm going to baste it. Good morning. So it's another week. I did not get done last weekend. I ended up sewing this lid on, okay? Put it all the way on. And like I had said before, I kept this open when I first pinned it. I turned it right side out and my fabulous sign was way on the corner. I don't know what happened, but it was completely off. So I had to undo everything and relay it out. So then what I did was I zipped up the lid first, even though I said, oh, I don't think you need to do that. I zipped it up because then it keeps your form, at least. It keeps the rectangle going. And this thing has been absolutely driving me crazy, okay? I can't even tell you how many times these corners are really difficult only because there are so many layers in there. And then when you turn it right side out, so before I do the lining, I always want to make sure it looks okay because you've got your piping here. So let's turn it right side out, and you've got your piping that you want to make sure is good. Well, so then back here, there's two corners now that have that. Not done with the corner. God. So then back here you can see there's a little bit of the, actually over here you can see it even better. There's a little basting stitch right there. You can see that. Right there, there's a basting stitch. So what I'm just gonna do is I'm going to pull it, and something in the lining will separate a little bit, but I think it should be okay. At least you don't see the basting stitch on the outside. So then I'm doing it and I feel like I did a great corner and my bobbin runs out. I'm like, so I have to pull it back, do the bobbin, do the darn corner. So that's the thing with this thing. This is driving me crazy, and it's mainly because there's so many layers, so many basting stitches, and these corners are not easy. And lucky me, I have 12 more to do because I cut 12 more of these to do. So that's fun. So the next and pretty much last step is we are now putting the lining on. And it is going to be the same way as the front. Okay, so thanks to the instructions, since again, they don't tell you what to do, they just say, do what you did before. I've been trying to figure this out. I could not remember how I did it on this one to put the bottom lining on. So I finally figured it out again. You're going to take your case inside out. So there's the outside fabric. Okay, so you've got the bottom. What you're going to do is you're folding the sides in and you're pinning the bottom lining right side in, right like that. So this is going to be the hardest yet. We're going to pin it all the way around so you've got all your sides inside. So they pin it all the way around, and again you're going to sew just from the dot, which is like one corner, all the way around, so then we can turn this shoot inside out or right side out. So that's what we're gonna do. Okay, what I've done first is I am pinning the lining to the top. I figured if I fold in the corners here and then fold them down kind of like a present, I am worried that the corner will get a little difficult to sew right here. So what I'm going to try and do is I am actually pulling this out, folding the top down, and then I'm going to sew along the top here first. And what I'm going to do is sew again along this line. I know that this line matches right up to my piping. So if I hit this line, my piping will be perfect. Okay, I sewed along the top here, along this part. I flipped it over and then flipped it to make sure it all looked okay and that everything was caught in the stitch. So then, instead of like focusing on one side going down, make sure you pin both sides because you are stretching this. You just want to make sure you're not like pulling everything to one side and then you're going to end up with nothing over here. So I pinned two sides together, and now I'm just going to go through and do one side at a time. Okay, I've got my lining bottom side sewed on. So again, I've sewed it from the little corner all the way around to the other corner. This actually was not as hard as sewing the bottom on, because really all you had to worry about was one layer to making sure it was in the stitch. Since you can't turn it around and check real easily and then have to turn it back, I recommend just going through and making sure your liner is on under the stitch all the way through. Now we are going to turn it inside out, right side out, and then right side out again. This is not always fun. It's not that bad. It's actually not as bad as I thought it would be. All right, so I turned it inside, right side out. Now we're going to do the whole thing. Right side out again, and cross your fingers that the piping looks good all the way around. It does. So I do have a few areas, like I said before, where you can see the basting stitch right there. I am just going to pull it. It'll be fine. It won't come out because everything is sewn together. So there you go. So now I've got my case. The last step, yay, is taking this stiff interfacing. We are going to insert it into each opening, the bottom and the top. So it says to cut it down a little bit all the way around, and then you're going to insert it in and then sew the opening. Okay, I have inserted my craft thick interfacing. I did have to cut out quite a bit of it. This is from the bottom. I did probably cut out at least an inch on the bottom and then probably more on the top one, just to make sure it's in there. It does kind of poof out a little bit, but now I'm just going to sew the bottom, whip stitch it by hand. And this is going to be a tough one because there's not a lot of fabric here. I don't know what happened down there. I'm going to sew that up. I'm going to sew the bottom up, and then we're done. Okay, so finally done with this. I'm really happy with it. You know, it is handmade, so there are always going to be imperfections, but I think it's better made than what you can buy at the store. I will be putting this on my Etsy page if anyone's interested in it. It's funny though, because I showed my son Max and he says, well, why does the zipper open up at the front here? Why don't you do it on the side? I said, you know what? This one opens on the side, and it's okay if it does. So if you can't find these zippers at your store or whatever, an opening, a full open one is totally great. And I think some of the other 12 that I'm doing will have some opening on the side. So I do plan on doing 12 of them. Each of them will have a different saying down here, all different patterns and mixtures of fabric, which I will be hopefully putting all of those on my Etsy page also. I hope you enjoyed making this. I think the hardest part for me was the bottom, this part right here, getting this thing all the way around and making it look right. I really appreciate you watching. I hope I helped out in some type of step, just because I know a couple of them say, hey, do what you did before, and that gets very confusing. So I do hope I helped. I would love to hear any comments you might have. Please like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you soon.